Ghost stories exist in every country. Some are more frightening than others. However, many people still enjoy listening to them even if it makes them too scared to use the restroom. Today in Just a Story, we will share a story that was told on the Thai YouTube channel The Ghost Radio by a man named Arm. This story is quite scary, so let's listen. The story happened to a man named Ek, and this story goes back about 3 years. Ek had a group of friends including himself, Nui, Pooh, Tun, and Nut. Ek was not very close with Nut, but Nut was close friends with Nui. And Pooh was dating Nui. One day, Nui and Pooh came to see Ek. They said they had run into Nut, who wanted to meet up since it had been a long time and everyone was working. Nut suggested they go do something else, because every time we meet up we just drink. Nui asked where, and Nut said he had a relative's old abandoned house. This relative used to perform Thai dance called Lee K and have Thai music instruments, but after they passed away the house became abandoned. Nut asked, "Why don't we try challenging the ghosts? And if finished early we could go drink afterwards." When Ek had heard this, Ek agreed and said he would invite Tun too. On the appointed day, everyone met at that old Thai-style wooden house. It was dark but not too scary of an atmosphere. They made a rule that each person would go upstairs one at a time holding one candle. Ek went first, and they all took turns going up except for Nut. Nothing happened. Then Nui wanted to show off to his girlfriend Pooh that he wasn't scared, so he suggested playing a ghost game with a glass. It's like a Ouija board. Nut said he wouldn't play, but the problem was they didn't have any equipment. So Nui went and took a glass from the spirit house shrine. Nut asked what he was doing, and Nui said if Nut was scared he could wait outside. He didn't need the board. If any ghost was really haunted, try to make a sound. Pooh started getting scared, but the others remained calm. In the end, nothing happened. Nui then stopped for a moment, ran back to the spirit house, and brought back a Thai dance girl doll to use for the ghost game, saying maybe we needed to summon a specific spirit to enter the glass, so we used this bitch. But again, nothing happened, so they decided to stop playing since there was no activity and call it a night since it was late. The first night after that nothing happened. But on the second night around 6 p.m., Tun called Ek saying he couldn't take it anymore and asking if he could come sleep over. Ek thought Tun must have fought with his family, so he said Tun could come over. Ek asked what happened, and Tun said he couldn't sleep. The first night he heard the sounds like Thai drum tapan and got scared he could sleep all night. Then the second day, he was napping in his blacked out room during the day when he heard tapan again. He opened his eyes and saw a woman in a Thai dance costume dancing, raising her arms up and down, but when she raised them her arms stretched all the way to the walls. She looked at him and smiled the whole time. So he ran out and called Ek, but Ek didn't believe him since he didn't experience anything himself. Ek let Tun stay over, but eventually Tun went back home. For days later, Ek went to Tun's house, but he had already moved out without telling anyone and no one could contact him anymore. So Ek went to Nui and Pooh that night to ask if they had experienced anything, since Nui was the one who brought them to that place. When he arrived, they were sitting at the dining table. Ek told them the story about Tun and asked Nui if anything had happened to him. Nui said nothing happened to him, but he wanted his wife Pooh to learn how to do the Lee K. When he said that, Pooh started crying loudly. Ek was shocked and thought maybe Nui had played a prank on her, so he asked Nui what he did to make Pooh cry, saying he should be more considerate of her feelings. But Nui said why should he be considerate, this was his wife and he wanted her to do the like. Pooh cried even more. Ek decided it was better to leave, saying he didn't understand what was going on but hoped they would be okay. As Ek stood up to leave, Nui pointed a gun at Pooh and shot her dead with a loud bang, deafening Ek. Ek asked Nui what he was doing, and Nui then put the gun in his own mouth and shot himself as well. Ek was in shock. At that moment he decided he needed to get out of there. But as he turned to leave the house, he heard tap-on sounds. He turned around and saw Nui and Pooh standing up doing the Thai dance movements. Ek was so terrified and he ran away to a temple, shaking uncontrollably like he had lost his mind. The monks at the temple had to use holy water to help bring Ek back to his senses. Once he calmed down, he investigated what had happened. He learned that was already 2 days after Nui and Pooh had died, Nui from falling and hitting his head, and Pooh likely from a heart attack. Ek told his parents he wanted to become a monk because he didn't want to experience anything like that again. His parents agreed to let him ordain, but first he stayed at the temple for 5 days. However, every day he heard the tap-on sounds and couldn't even chant the prayers, so Ek consulted the head monk, who asked what he had done. Ek explained the whole story. The monk instructed him to first go back to that house and apologize. Ek tried to contact Nut to take him there. Since he didn't know Nut well, he couldn't reach him. So Ek went with his parents and the monk to do the apology ceremony at the house in the morning. Afterward, as they were leaving and walking down the stairs, Ek glanced over and saw Nut's funeral portrait labeled Life and Death, dated about a year earlier. In the end, it turned out Nut had died long ago and tricked Nui into inviting his friends to Nut's abandoned family house. After that experience, Ek ordained as a monk and remains one to this day. That's the whole scary story. What did you think? Was it frightening? If you liked it, leave a comment, or if you want to hear another ghost story, let me know and I'll share one next time. As for today, I have to say goodbye. Bye.